One of the real keys to having an efficient commercial cow herd is having a confined or a defined breeding and therefore calving season. And by that I mean that basically we would have the bulls out with the cows for only perhaps 2.5 months, and then we'd put the bulls up in another separate lot or pasture away from the cows the rest of the year. This increases our efficiency because we can feed the cows throughout the remainder of the year in much more appropriate fashion. In other words, we have cows in the same stage of production throughout the rest of the year so that they can be fed according to where they are in terms of their pregnancy, whether they're lactating or whether they're still open cows. Also, we can tell much more quickly if there's a disease problem showing up in our herd. A reproductive disease can be detected much more quickly. If we have that shortened breeding season, the veterinarian comes out a couple months later, preg checks, and we can get a pretty good idea if there's something going on in that herd that needs some help. One of the real challenges to having a defined breeding season, especially for small producers, is what to do with the bull the other 9.5, 10 months out of the year. We called around to different beef specialists around the country and asked them to give us ideas of fencing designs to keep bulls away from cows in especially small ranching operations. The best one, I think, came from Clemson University in South Carolina several years ago. What they suggested was using a 5-wire electric fence. And there's several different ways that we can go about that. They basically used a high tensile, smooth, heavy gauged wire placed at 10 inches above the ground and then every 10 inches so that you finally end up with a 50-inch fence. They put the grounds attached to the first and the fourth wires and then attached those to stakes that went 4 to 6 feet deep into the ground. I think the depth of those grounding stakes is very, very important here in Oklahoma, because as we get into the hot months of July, August, and September, the topsoil becomes very, very dry, and we need those grounds to reach down into the subsoil moisture to make a good connection. So having deep grounds is very, very important. Another alternative that you might consider is to make the live wires 1, 3, and 5 like we show in this particular diagram. This, I think, makes the fence a little more versatile so that not only can we keep bulls into their appropriate pasture, we might be able to use the fence for a weaning pasture as we do our fence line weaning, keeping the cows separate from the calves. It's important, of course, to use a good energy charger on these fences. One that will really do the job to give those bulls a jolt if they try to go through that fence. I think that if you'll work with a good, reputable fencing company and one of their representatives, they can help you get a good design for a bull fence that'll work in your operation and therefore give you a chance to have that defined breeding and calving season that'll help the efficiency in your herd. Hey, we look forward to visiting with you again next week on Sunup's Cow-Calf Corner.